Hello everyone, so I decided to do a tag video today, and this is the trad, like traditional I'm guessing, witchcraft, or witch tag. Trad witch tag. Obviously I can read, but it was in the title of the video, so you know what I'm talking about. That tag, I saw Ivy's Grove make a addition to this tag, and I thought, why not? So here we are. Question 1, what kind of craft do you practice? So I've said this before, I consider myself a solitary witch. This gives me freedom to do whatever I want because it doesn't matter if I decide to change it up full moon to full moon, or if I don't do anything with the moons. It's just me doing it, so it's fine. Number 2, what paradigm, faith, or philosophy informs your craft? Oh my god, I think I'm too sick for this. My brain's like, what? Her examples are spirit model, animism, neoplatonism, psychological approach, energy mono, polytheism. I'm just gonna go with, like, polytheism, I guess? I don't know. Like, I think there's a lot of stuff that science doesn't know how to explain, and magic has been saying it for centuries, and then science catches up, and then lo and behold, it's like, you know what? Maybe there's something to it. I feel like there is a psychological side effect to it too. If you kind of have a hard time believing in it, at the very least, it's a really good placebo effect. And also, like, the power of the mind is really underestimated in the world. So, like, if you wanted to go that route, maybe too, but also, like, I don't believe that it's just that. Like, I truly believe that using certain herbs and stuff does certain things, and rocks, and then I also believe in the gods. So, like, I don't know. Why are you asking me so many hard questions? Maybe I should have watched more of the videos before I actually jumped into this. Because I just saw it, because I obviously was gone for a week, and I'm only recently catching up on YouTube, because I don't watch YouTube as much as I used to. Number 3, what cultures is your practice rooted in? Dude, I don't know. Like, obviously, I like the Norse gods, but I don't claim that culture. I have been told from my family members who have done, like, the research for, like, genealogy. That's a really big thing here in Utah. The Mormons love to do genealogy. Like, they're, like, I think one of the top ones in the country, if not the world, for that. Like, that is, like, one of their things. How accurate it is varies. My grandpa, because he used to do, like, first responder stuff, at one point had somebody say that they traced their family back to Noah's Ark. So, you know, sometimes it's not true. But my family had done it. They had traced family back for quite a ways, and it turned out that we had some Viking heritage. And so, like, maybe that's why I'm more interested in the Norse, I don't know. But I feel weird being like, I'm claiming this culture, because, like, it's several generations removed, and, like, the more recent one, it's still kind of sketchy, because, like, when adoption comes into play, like, which culture do you choose? Their bloodline, or where they were raised, you know? I'm just, you know, anyways, moral of the story, I don't know. Like, I do kind of work with the Norse, but more, I guess, an Americanized version of it, because I don't live there. I don't live in the countries that it originated from. I've never been there. I don't plan to travel internationally, because airplanes and cruise ships scare me. So, like, I don't want to go on, like, a plane ride that's, like, basically an entire day. Like, not 8 hours, like 20 plus hours on an airplane to get across the freaking ocean to get to a place. That's scary. Let alone going to a place we have absolutely no idea what the language is, and you just gotta hope that they can speak your language, or that you can figure out Google Translate in a different country. Like, that's just way more stress. So it feels weird being like, I'm taking from this culture that I don't have. So naturally, like, it's going to be an Americanized version. The way we honor them here is very different than over there, because just the day-to-day customs are a little different. I don't think that's where they meant that question to go, but it's really weird. Because, like, a lot of, I guess, I don't know, I guess it's American witchcraft, because that's the culture I'm raised in. And, like, the practices naturally reflect our social customs and our belief systems as, like, a society, typically, and, like, how we do things is gonna be different than, again, over in Europe or in South America. Like, it's just gonna be a little different. And of course, most of the authors that I've learned from and I read about are American. Like, of course, there's a handful here and there that aren't, but for the most part, It's American. And I don't think that's a bad thing. And I don't necessarily like seek it out. It just happens to be that way. So I don't know. That's probably way too long and complicated of an answer than what they meant. Number 4, how long have you been practicing and how did it all start? I have been practicing for 13 years. I started in 2009 and I've told this story before. Me and my friend were obsessed with the House of Night series. It's a YA book about vampires and Wicca, basically. And it gets really weird as the series goes on. I haven't ever actually finished it because eventually I got pretty fed up with where the authors were going with it. But that said, the seedling of witchcraft is there and Wicca. And so I was invited to a full moon ritual and it was supposed to be a bunch of newbies that were going, and then only me and my friend showed up. And not even like the high priestess showed up. She was just like studying under her cousin who's the high priestess. And then I was initiated that night. That was what the ritual was. So, yep, I had no idea what I was doing. But I've stuck with it for 13 years. Number 5, what books or resources have you first started with? So I started off with Google, mostly. A lot of defunct websites that no longer exist, obviously, because that's how the internet has ran over the past 13 years. And then, of course, YouTube. There's a few channels that were extremely influential to my early parts of my craft. Again, a lot of them are defunct. Some of them you can still watch. Some of them have been taken down. But those were kind of my 2 main ones. I didn't do a lot of, like, books. Utah libraries, they might have gotten better now. I kind of doubt it. But there weren't witchcraft books. When I was looking, there were, I think, like 2, maybe 3 in the entire, like, county library system. Like, that's not a book topic they're gonna cover here. So I had to wait and then go buy all of the books that I wanted to read. And so I only was able to get a handful of books, one of which was Scott Cunningham's, and that's been my go-to for a lot of things for a long time. But really, the internet was easier because it was accessible, so that's just kind of what I've used. Second part of that question, would you recommend them to others today? Sure, kind of. So, book-wise, obviously, Cunningham, you really don't go wrong with his books. They're well-researched, it's written in a fantastic way. 10 out of 10 go recommend them. And for the defunct channels and the defunct websites, I don't think it really matters, because, like, you can't go find it. How has your practice and or paradigm changed over the years, if at all? I have an entire video tag that I did about that, because I started off very Wicca, and then I've migrated the term quite a bit. I initially went from Wicca to eclectic Wicca to pagan, neo-pagan, and then eventually I've settled on just solitary witch. But it's been a lot of back and forth on things. But I don't really consider myself Wiccan anymore because I don't follow a lot of their core beliefs, so I don't feel like that's like the proper title. And I feel like witchcraft is just so broad that, especially as a solitary, you can just be like, I pick and choose these things. Some of it are very Wicca element based, but even then, it's not exactly Wicca anymore. And I feel like it'd be really weird if your path had never changed. Ever. That honestly would feel really weird. I've yet to meet anybody in the community where their craft has not changed to some degree from when they started. Like, if it hasn't, I honestly would see red flags. Like, are you sure? Are you sure nothing's changed? Are you really, really, really sure? Maybe if you were, like, raised in it, but even then I feel like you would still want to question stuff. So, anyways, what does your daily regular practice look like? What do you do on a regular basis? So, currently my daily practice is like non-existent because I don't do much when I'm sick. I don't feel like I have to force myself to do things when I'm just trying to recover, and so the only things I will do is like work related. So obviously I'm reading a bunch of witchy books. You could count that as part of it. I count that more as work. And I also, the most I will do is like a meditation if I feel up to it. And more like if I can't sleep at night because I'm waiting for like cold medicine to kick in, then I'll do a meditation while I'm just kind of waiting around. And that's about it for right now. Typically, well, oh no, I take that back. The one thing I do every day is I record my dreams because I've noticed certain trends and I'm trying to figure out what they mean. So I keep track of my dreams, which for some people isn't necessarily witchy, but I would consider it witchy because I'm looking at it from like that lens and like analyzing it. When I'm not sick though, I do have a full routine that I usually do. I will usually do some kind of an offering. I will talk to the gods. I need to update and clean my altar because I haven't done that in a while. Normally I do that about once a month. And then like just on the daily, like I'll try to meditate and do gratitude and stuff like that. It just kind of depends. I do have a video planned because I usually switch it up for the seasons too. And I feel like winter I just slow way down and I'm just like way more cozy and just whatever's comfy right now because it's cold and it's dark. I have a video that'll be coming out in January. It's already on the schedule talking about my winter witchy routines. So I'll probably go into it more there. And I do have a video talking about my like more autumn witchy things that I've been doing. So you could watch those as well. Number 8, are there any aspects of your craft that you need to keep secret? In your opinion, is secrecy important in witchcraft? Not really. So I don't really talk about like the spells that I do too much, but I don't see a problem talking about them. Like it's this weird thing because like as I'm actively doing a spell, I don't usually talk about it. When it's come to pass, I don't see a problem sharing it or even sharing how you've set up your spell before you do it. You don't even have to share it necessarily like your specifics. Like if you're trying to get a job, you don't need to share all of the details of what you're including for your specific job, right, for that spell, but to share the general idea of it, because I don't think knowledge needs to be locked away somewhere. And like when you die, do you really want all of that knowledge to just disappear into the ether? Like it's really morbid, but that's 100% where my brain goes. Like I just think information needs to be shared a little bit more widely available. It's been centuries in the dark, and I just think information should be easily accessible. Number 9, what are some of your favorite tools that you use regularly? I love the runes, obviously. I love my particular altar cloth. I've had it for the majority of my craft. My kind of go-to tools are usually my cauldron. I use that pretty regularly. Candles, obviously. And like, other than that, like I do really like having deity statues and like representations on my altar. And so, I mean, I use all of the stuff that I have on my altar for a reason. So all of it. Number 10, what books or resources would you recommend to newbie witches interested in your kind of craft? Probably Inner Temple of Witchcraft. As much as I complained about getting through it, I do think it is really good for getting the foundations of the craft because I find myself constantly using the stuff he teaches you. Some of the stuff you don't use, that's fine. But there are certain techniques that I actively use on a regular basis now, and I'm like, okay. Like, I didn't expect to really actually use that book as much as I do going forward in my craft. But I 100% do. Other books, obviously, I would recommend like the Cunningham books. And other than that, like, I mean, it just depends. I mean, honestly, if you want to follow what I'm doing for my particular branch of witchcraft, like, I have a YouTube channel. I share it all the time. So like, that is it. Because like, I don't know that everyone who watches my channel and watches what I do cares. Like, plenty of you have commented that you're like, I have zero interest in the Norse, but that's cool. Like, that works for you. That's cool. Great. And so it's like, yeah, I'm not going to recommend a bunch of sources to you if it's not something you're interested in. And like, if you're not into like learning the runes, why am I going to tell you about it? And like, recommend it. Like, you should do your own research. You don't have to follow my own little footsteps. But eventually, I have thought about writing my own book of like how I would train somebody in the craft. Hello, editing me, because I'm not gonna re-record this. So welcome to my tree, welcome to upstairs. We do have sunlight, I promise. Yeah, my camera when I'm recording, it will sometimes let me record past the 17 minutes, and sometimes I forget to keep track of the time, and it never does it the same way every time, so I can't keep track of it, but it will spontaneously cut my file and cut out like a minute and a half-ish. And even if it will let me play it, like sometimes the audio will be there and sometimes it won't. And even in my file that I'm editing right now,
it will do the same thing. Sometimes the audio's there and sometimes it won't. So I'm just gonna add this little snippety snip in of the story so that it makes sense. So basically, I was in the middle of telling you, before my camera decided to be a D-bag, that my initial plan was that I wanted to write a book. And I was gonna have like a book series of how I would train somebody to be a witch. But having gone through Inner Temple of Witchcraft, I now am finding myself being like, oh, but I like his technique better. But then I feel weird because it's his copyrighted content. So I'm like, I can't be like, okay, do Penzak's thing, but then also these other things. So I'm leading into saying that I feel like a video series would be better because I'd feel weird using his copyrighted content in like a published book. And I feel like in videos where we're like, hey, like you need to read like this section of this book and have it be a little bit more like casual, it would be more fine. It's something I played around with. I don't know when or if it's going to manifest into something, but that's what I was talking about before my camera decided to be rude and cut my file. So anyways, onwards with the rest of the video. So it would be more like appropriate to have it be like a video series, because I feel weird being like, okay, you need to do from this book, and like it's his copyrighted content. And so I don't know. I initially had always planned on writing like a witchcraft training book, and now I'm like, I don't know, because I would just tell you to go read his book, and like I would add in different things, but there's still core stuff from that I would tell you to do. So anyways, this was extremely rambly, but I hope this made some sort of sense. I would love to hear your guys' answers in the comments down below. Thank you to my patrons. I'll have their names here on the screen. If you would like to support me and get access to exclusive content, it is patreon.com/nightwillowcrafts. Make sure to like and subscribe. I post every single day, and until tomorrow, thank you so much for watching, and blessed be.